Europe, 1940. Hitler's ruthless quest to extend Germany's borders has his people at war with the world. The mobilization of armies by Britain and France proves no deterrent as the Nazis invade their European neighbors to the north and west, while extending their reach eastward towards Russia's critical oil fields. By fall, Germany's lightning war to soften England is launched, and America increases production, racing to aid the British. By 1941, the battle for North Africa is on, as Rommel's Afrika Korps arrives in Tripoli. On the Eastern Front, an impatient Hitler breaks his pact with the Soviets. Stalin responds with a scorched earth policy, intent on leaving only ruins for the Nazi invaders. But one by one, his cities fall. Now, in 1942, massive German air raids commence against Stalingrad, and the battle for this noble city turns vicious. The Red Army refuses to retreat, and a counteroffensive is launched against the force that now stretches from the Volga to the Atlantic and deep into the African desert. Against impossible odds, millions come forward to answer the call of their countries, their families, their lives.
My name is Alexander Sokolov. I thought I was safe. As a watchmaker's apprentice, I would learn the business, then open a shop of my own. Maybe get married, have children, start a life. But now our cities are under attack, and Stalingrad will put an end to those dreams. We should have known the Germans would turn on us, break the treaty. They have no honor. The commissars rounded us up so quickly, speaking of the motherland, the sacrifice of our brothers, our duty. I'm only 20, but I'm ready to fight to the death. The sight of my home Stalingrad infuriates me. It is as if hell itself were burning.
My name is Tanya Pavlovna. We had little idea the Nazi invasion had pushed as far as our village until the night we awoke to the sound of tank tracks grinding in the distance. Tank shells sent my neighbors scurrying for cover, and in the chaos I was separated from my parents. The next day I was rescued by soldiers with the Red Army. I was 25. During my first skirmish our squad was cut down, and I escaped into a collapsed building, where I took a sniper rifle off the body of a fallen comrade. My father's voice guided my aim as I cut down my first 4 Germans with that rifle. My skill was reported to HQ and I was assigned as a sniper and sent to Stalingrad. I've been hunting Germans ever since. They took my family and my home, and I intend to take their lives.
My name is Nikolai Badanov. The day after the Germans attacked the Soviet Union, I left my wife and newborn son in the care of my parents and joined the Red Army. Having been a mechanic in Leningrad for years, it was no surprise I was assigned to the 24th Tank Corps. I live for the day we grind Berlin beneath our tracks. Perhaps it's this aggressiveness that won me my own tank crew and assignment in Stalingrad. While my crew and I are like family, there's another comrade who I'll be tied to forever. Her name is Tanya Pavlovna, and she saved our skins as we escaped in the last surviving T-34 after an assault on an old factory near Volgograd. But our tank soon had engine trouble, and the smoke plume was giving away our position. So we found what looked to be a safe place to make repairs.
By controlling North Africa, the Axis powers would have a better chance of holding the Mediterranean, now the epicenter of the war. Unfortunately for Italian dictator Benito Mussolini, his army is ill-prepared to withstand the British forces in the region. Hitler, fearful that more losses in Africa would jeopardize his efforts on the Russian front, sends General Rommel and his Afrika Korps to clean up the mess. By 1942, the Allies decide that the best way to break the Axis powers back is to create another front. An Operation Torch is born of British and American troops. A well-supported, coordinated push through enemy lines, depleting and destroying fuel, food, and equipment would mean the eventual fall of the Third Reich in Africa, weakening Axis aggression throughout the world. All goes as planned, and by January 1943, British General Montgomery's 8th Army has Rommel and his troops on the run, scrambling to make their valiant last stand at the Mareth line.
My wife finally wrote saying, "Edward Carlisle just asked to do something else." So I did. It turns out having a background in teaching chemistry can get you out of a desk job pretty quick if you have a mind to it. I knew nothing of Popsky's private army or its ties to the desert rats until I was in training. This sabotage platoon's philosophy is lightning-fast strikes and massive explosions deep behind enemy lines. It's gratifying to know that every time we light up a fuel depot or munitions dump, we're stalling Rommel's tanks and helping those poor blighters on the front lines. It may not be fighting fair, but the Germans have hardly fought fair in Europe, so to hell with them. My assignments are highly confidential, so as far as the wife knows, I'm still sitting at a desk. But for some strange reason, I've stopped complaining. Navigating the desert like an ocean of sand, you have to know where you're going and have a plan to get in and out as quickly and quietly as possible. We do prefer it when quietly is not required. The one thing that allows us to hit the enemy where it hurts most is our jeeps. They're always loaded with enough fuel, supplies and water to travel 600 miles at a stretch. Although unarmored, they can be heavily armed with two 50 cal MGs firing armor-piercing and incendiary rounds. These make us quick and deadly when we need to be, able to take on German half-tracks and armored cars that outclass us in every other way. Still, this doesn't make up for the fact that you're completely exposed to fire sitting in an open jeep. And you'd better have a damn good driver at the wheel should trouble arise. And it always does, mate.
By 1944, in the battle to regain their Russian homeland, the Red Army crushes the German pocket at Stalingrad, marking the first major defeat of Hitler's armies. On June 6th, D-Day, the Allies stage a massive sea and air invasion on the Normandy coast that will soon lead to a full-scale retreat of Germany's once powerful armies across France and Belgium. Inspired by this success, British Field Marshal Montgomery devises a plan he insists will end the war by Christmas, codenamed Market Garden. With momentum on their side, the Allies attack Germany's industrial heartland from the north, attempting to outflank the powerful Siegfried Line, intending to drive on to Berlin. But Montgomery's plan fails miserably when the final bridge across the Rhine cannot be secured. Painful defeat and staggering losses destroy all hope for an early end to the war, and surviving Allies are ordered back to France. Fortunately, by October, with the Siegfried Line finally breached from the west, the Americans prepare for the capture of Aachen, a city destined for the dubious distinction of being the first major German city to fall to Allied forces.
My name is Chuck Walker. I've been attached to the 1st Army, the Big Red One, for a long time now. I've fought in North Africa and Sicily. I landed in Normandy on D-Day. Every day I fight to save my life and the lives of my men. I'm proud we're on the front lines. I know none of us are going home until the Germans surrender completely, and we want to be right there when it happens. That's why Aachen is so important. It's time to take this fight right to Germany, where it began. This isn't about medals or honor. Those things don't matter when you're fighting for your life. This is about winning the war. And fighting with the Big Red One has taught me you win a war by surviving it. And that means killing the Germans before they kill me.
My name is Sam Rivers. The day after the attack on Pearl Harbor, me and my best friend Jim rushed to enlist in the U.S. Army. Most of our buddies from the neighborhood in Chicago did the same. I was only 18. I barely had enough time to say my goodbyes, get packed, and marry my sweetheart Maggie 3 hours before we shipped out for basic training. I was assigned to the 761st Tank Battalion, which was almost entirely made up of colored folk, except for the officers. We were not particularly welcome at Camp Hood, but this just drove us to build an unstoppable team and earn the respect of everyone we met. General Patton himself saw us in action and insisted we be attached to his 3rd Army and sent to Europe. Today we're near the town of Tillet. Every other American unit assigned to take this town has tried and failed. Now it's our turn. We're all fighting for something more than just defeating the enemy. Every man in the 761st has something to prove to himself and to the folks back home. For us, victory has a double meaning.
It's been 4 grueling months since we took our first German city at Aachen. That mission and the weeks that followed have been particularly difficult. A bitter, cold fight trying to hold off the Germans in 𝗬𝗢𝗍𝗲 was one of the few times in this war I actually thought I might not make it back home. My men came out decorated for their sacrifices. But that doesn't change the fact that we paid a heavy price to get into Germany. We've been hearing rumors that a bridge across the Rhine is still intact, and we're heading there to check it out. The end of this war is close, we all know that. Germany has nowhere to stay but home. And that's no longer a safe place to sleep.
March 1945. With the bridge across the Rhine into Remagen secured, the Allies pour into Germany, bringing the fight against the Nazis directly to the Third Reich's doorstep. German forces in the Ruhr River Valley surrendered as the Soviets reached Berlin. The once proud, seemingly invincible German army, which had sought to usurp additional territory from neighbors as far as the Soviet Union to the western edge of Europe and North Africa, is now forced to desperately defend and hold on to its own original homeland. The unconditional surrender of all German forces to the Allies, without which President Roosevelt had declared the war could not end, would not be long in the making. A world that had long been at war would soon be able to rejoice. Against impossible odds, millions come forward to answer the call of their countries, their families, their lives.
We can't take back Stalingrad unless we control that bunker. I'm sorry you lost your sergeant, comrade. We won't let his sacrifice go to waste.
It was no surprise I was assigned to the 24th Tank Corps. I live for the day we grind Berlin beneath our tracks. Perhaps it's this aggressiveness that won me my own tank crew and assignment in Stalingrad.
Okay, Lieutenant. Okay, Lieutenant. Okay, Lieutenant, we have our orders.
My wife finally wrote saying Edward Carlisle just asked to do something else. So I did. It turns out having a background in teaching chemistry can get you out of a desk job pretty quick if you have a mind to.
Carlisle, use your sticky bombs on that panzer. 𝗤𝗢𝗄𝗃𝗀𝗀𝗃𝗀𝗀𝗃𝗀𝗀𝗃𝗀𝗀𝗃𝗀𝗀𝗃𝗀𝗃𝗀𝗀𝗃𝗀𝗃𝗀𝗀𝗃𝗀𝗀𝗃𝗀𝗀𝗃𝗀𝗀𝗃𝗀𝗃𝗀𝗃𝗀𝗃𝗀𝗃𝗀𝗃𝗀𝗃𝗀𝗃𝗀𝗃𝗀𝗃𝗀𝗃𝗀𝗃𝗀𝗃𝗀𝗃𝗀𝗃𝗀𝗃𝗀𝗃𝗀𝗃𝗀𝗃𝗀𝗃𝗀𝗃𝗀𝗃𝗀𝗃𝗀𝗃𝗀𝗃𝗀𝗃𝗀𝗃𝗀𝗃𝗀𝗃𝗀
My name is Chuck Walker. I've been attached to the 1st Army, the Big Red 1, for a long time now. I fought in North Africa and Sicily. I landed in Normandy on D-Day. Every day I fight to save my life and the lives of my men. I'm proud we're on the front lines. I know none of us are going home until the Germans surrender completely. But when they do, we want to be right there. German anti-tank, top floor, dead ahead!
My name is Sam Rivers. The day after the attack on Pearl Harbor, me and my best friend Jim rushed to enlist in the U.S. Army. Most of our buddies from the neighborhood in Chicago did the same. I was only 18.
Woo! Let's roll! She's all fixed!
They can come out of it. They can bring it to Forte. Just like a simple crescendo roll.
had to prove something. We had to prove that we was as good as anybody. We had to prove that we could handle tanks, gyro stabilizers, panoramic sights, all these technical things that belong in a tank. We shouldn't have had to do it, but we had to prove to America that we did it, which was a shame.
The guys that are doing this thing, they're just fanatics on it, which is wonderful. And you know, the young kids can actually see what their granddads did. You know, and it actually comes home to them. And plus, it's, you know, it keeps you thinking all the time as well. So I love that kind of thing. You know, it's fascinating to me.
Against impossible odds, millions come forward to answer the call of their countries, their families, their lives.
Okay, really good. I do feel like you're rushing a bit, so you can slow down. You can slow down just a little bit. And definitely you can slow down on that last line too. You know, against impossible odds. You know, you can really take your time to set up the drama.
My father was in the Second World War. He was in the desert. Fought in the desert with the desert rats and the Durham Light Infantry. And then he went to 𝗔𝗁𝗲𝗃𝗀𝗃. So, you know, every now and again, he didn't talk about it much, but every now and again we get little tidbits, little snippets of what really happened. And it fascinated us as three small boys. We just used to hang on to every word.
So we had the speed, we had the durability, we had the tools to work with, but we still didn't have the armor. We only had 4 inches of armor. That 𝗙𝗏𝗄𝗃 had 12. And you couldn't knock him out if you hit him in front. So we learned ourselves how to defeat it